Persistent and devastating human rights violations, but according to the UN, violence against women and girls remains largely unreported. 1 in 3 women worldwide experience physical or sexual violence, mostly by an intimate partner, while more than 5 women or girls are killed each hour by a member of their own family. Stark statistics from new research carried out by 2 UN agencies to mark International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. Well, for more, we're joined now by Rasha Hafar, founder of the Youth Against Slavery movement. Thanks so much for being with us this morning, Rasha, this morning for us here in Paris. Tell us a little bit about your own organisation. You founded it back in 2016. It focuses specifically on human trafficking. Just tell us some of the things, the initiatives that you've introduced to try to combat that.
Thank you so much for having me, and it's such an honor to have the opportunity to talk about human trafficking. So I founded Youth Against Slavery movement actually as my second nonprofit after founding Not for Trade organization in Tunisia, and traveling around Africa and realizing that youth remain very excluded from advocacy spaces where decisions are made, while youth remain the biggest population that's vulnerable to human trafficking. So that's why I wanted to raise the next generation that's equipped with the tools and the knowledge to fight human trafficking and fight the root causes, the socioeconomic root causes that continue to put young people in vulnerable places and makes them susceptible to trafficking. So what we work on mainly is prevention through education and awareness raising and advocacy, and of course, partnership, because we cannot really fight this crime unless everyone is concerned and is involved and has, a responsibility in fighting the crime. So yeah, that's what we do. We raise awareness and we work on capacity building, advocacy, policy, and accountability, definitely.
And in terms of combating, you say people need to work together, but governments also need to work together because it's a massive problem around the world, isn't it? And there's an estimated 25 million victims around the world, and it's also a huge industry for the criminal gangs who operate in this area. So from your perspective, what do governments really need to do to combat this?
Governments need to work with people, with civil society organization, with the different stakeholders who can really come together and put national referral mechanisms and put hand in hand to create the services the victims need. And we need to work on prevention. I'm a big believer in prevention through education and raising awareness. I don't believe we should wait until the crime happens, until everyone is exploited for us to say we need to do something. And that starts by creating educational materials for young people from the early ages, even until, professional education. After people are even in their professional occupations, they can still learn about human trafficking and how to engage that knowledge in their day-to-day activities that can prevent further the re-victimizations of victims, and also for people to detect, because you can come across a victim and not even know how to read the signs. So this topic really needs to be mainstreamed and needs to become an urgency, but we remain it remains excluded from so many advocacy spaces and international spaces because of so much controversy around commercial sexual practices, and that's dividing the movement. And one of the things we're working on is trying to bridge the gap between the different sides and telling people that exploitation does not happen in vacuum. It is the ultimate of all the root causes coming together. So we need to work on ending gender against women, violence against women, gender inequalities and violence, socioeconomic issues. We need to incorporate anti-trafficking policies and knowledge in our political discourse. We need to talk about it in the media. We need to. So it's a very multifaceted, multi-sectoral approach that we need to take, and we cannot work on this in isolation anymore.
And sometimes these crimes against women, Rasha, it's sometimes seen as a hidden crime. 40% of women, they may never even tell anybody that they've been the victim of domestic abuse, of sexual violence. What do you do to encourage women to come forward while giving them a safe space in order to do so?
So that's the thing, is that we need to have these safe spaces. We need to create the hotlines, we don't have hotlines in so many countries. There's no laws, there's no local laws. So even if the victim tries to reach us and get some support, they are not going to find that. So that's one thing we need to work on, is creating the infrastructure for victims to come forward and feel empowered and feel safe, that there's a group of people that's going to come and support them and not re-victimize them or hold them accountable for any of the crimes they were forced to do or for the situations they've been going through. So that's another thing about human trafficking, is the re-victimization of victims that needs to end. And that only can happen if we respect the international laws and we implement local laws. We have to have the Palermo Protocol and follow that, and create national laws in our countries that could respect the context of the crime and what it looks like.
Okay, a lot needs to be done, clearly, Rasha. Thank you so much for your time with us on the programme. That is Rasha Hafar, founder of the Youth Against Slavery movement, joining us as the UN marks the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. Thank you so much. Well, it's aimed at ending fighting between Congolese troops and M23 rebels. A ceasefire agreed by African leaders this week is due to come into effect